All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to our Super Bowl episode of the Rotating Members Clashing Conferences. Oh my goodness! Podcast. We are the Rotating Members Group. I'm your host, Patty Bailey, here with the rest of the gang. Say hello, gang.
What
What's
up,
up?
guys?
Whoa, man.
And for all the Eagles fans wondering, no, we will not be naming this episode The Gang Does a Super Bowl Preview. We have copyright laws that prohibit us from touching Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
That's good.
So we are here. We are here. We are the Clashing Conferences Network. We're a network of sports fans of the people, by the people, for the people. If you'd like to join, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. If you can still download it on your app store, I don't know. But we're there. Shout out to our sponsors, Sparrow Hair Studio. If you're in Lancaster, PA, and you need a nice new haircut to look fresh and clean, visit Sparrow Hand Hair. Oh my God, I almost said Hand Studios. Hair Studios.
A little different.
Gentlemen, we haven't been here since the championship round. We kind of took a week off so we could focus our efforts on the dodgeball game at the Pro Bowl. But unfortunately, that doesn't bring views in. So, welcome to our new member, Kyle. Kyle, why don't you start us off? What'd you think about the championship weekend of football?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, it was for me. It was great being an Eagles fan. I was at the game. Nothing like it being at an NFC Championship game at the Link, and I didn't expect the game to be that out of hand. I didn't expect it to go that way that quick. But I mean, I think I talked to Randler before, and I said whoever wins the turnover battle will win the game. They sure as heck won the turnover battle, 4-0, and they capitalized on all that, which was great. Seeing them win really put my mind at ease. And then going into the night game, I figured that one was going to be a close game. And it was whoever basically had the ball last, and Chiefs had the ball last, and that's how it worked.
That's awesome that you went to the game. That sounds like a really good time. However, we did get multiple reports that you may have been the guy in the Twitter video where he was stealing the guy's commander's hat
No,
off of his head. So, we just want to we want you to clear your name on the air. So we're happy that you did that.
I
We're happy that you've
appreciate
been
that.
exonerated.
I appreciate you letting me clear my name on that. I take that with a lot of pride. That was not me or anybody in my row. We did see a couple fights almost happen though, but we weren't involved in them. So
That's
how
good. That's
how
good.
wild was it? Like, I can't, like, you guys kept scoring and scoring. I can't imagine, like, being at a game where you're going to the Super Bowl and you're just piling it on. Like,
it
it
was
had to be
nuts.
like a crazy party there.
It was nuts. So 2 years ago against San Fran, that was a little crazier because San Fran was talking a lot of stuff, prior to the game, and then we knocked out two of their quarterbacks. And once the second half happened in that game, Brock Purdy went back in and he couldn't pass. He was just handing the ball off. You kind of figured like that was a little different. This game, it was just it got tight for a little bit. I mean, I'll be honest. When Washington went down and scored a field goal on that first drive and held the ball for like 9 minutes, I was like, oh man, this is going to be that's how you win. That's how you beat the Eagles. You keep them off the field. And then I don't know why he didn't go for on fourth down. It was 4th and 2, and he kicked the field goal. He went for it twice before that and got it. I don't know why he didn't go, but that was the game. That was honestly the game when he didn't go for it on fourth down there. So
Yeah, I mean we've talked about it multiple times on this podcast. The Eagles just play that brand of football where they kind of just grind you down, and you don't want to see them. Like we always say this about Derrick Henry. Oh, you don't want to see Derrick Henry in the fourth quarter. I think we really need to start saying that about Saquon as well. Like you don't want to see him late in the game, especially with the lead. It's just where he gets going. Cody, what'd you think of the weekend of football that we just had?
Not too bad. I really didn't get to watch a whole lot. I kind of caught the half end of both games. I enjoyed the Commanders game a lot. I was sorry, Kyle. I got your back on the Kentucky basketball, but I was hoping for the Commanders to win that, and they didn't. But, I'm ready for Sunday. I'm not really ready for Sunday because it's the game nobody really wants to see, but whatever. I hope the Eagles beat the hell out of the cheating Chiefs.
there you go.
Mike, before we get into Tony P's crazy conspiracy hole, why don't you talk about how you enjoyed your football last weekend?
Well, I actually watched the football last weekend instead of driving for 16 hours in the car round
Good for
trip,
you.
and it was some good football. I mean, the Eagles putting up 55 points was unexpected. That's a heck of a lot of points, and that was a fun game to watch. I've been riding with the Eagles all through the playoffs as far as just rooting for them and putting my money on them and doing pretty good on that aspect of things. The AFC, I was not as accurate in my predictions about. I really thought that the Chiefs would not make it back this year. I thought it was going to be whoever won that Bills and Ravens game. I called that before the playoffs even started, that I thought whoever would win between those two in that matchup would win the Super Bowl. So not right on that, but the Chiefs look good, man. Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes is a combo that is tough to beat, and it's been proven for quite a while now. We'll
I
see if
would
the
look
Eagles can do it again.
uh,
Cody, what
I
were you
would look
saying?
I would look good too if I paid the refs. I would look like a pro
I'll just
football
segue
player.
right into Tony P before I talk about the officials. Go for it, Tony P.
Oh, so I was trying. I was honestly, I watched way too many sports. I was trying to like think about like what happened a week and a half ago in these games, and I was thinking about what stood out in the Commanders Eagles game. Have you guys ever seen a team go offsides like 10 times in a row at the 1 yard line? That was
It
like
was
the
a special
craziest thing I ever seen.
situation.
They were jumping over the lineman like 10 times,
Not they,
and
one guy.
Here's the only thing
Frankie
I'll say
Louvu.
on that is I I actually like the Eagles as a team. I like a lot of their players, but God, I hate Nick Sirianni. I hate him. I hate him so much
he's
for
pretty
like
able.
that. Okay, don't get me wrong. The Eagles were winning. They knew they were going to score. Why did we call hard count 3 times in a row on the 1 yard line? Like you knew you were punching it in.
Did you hear why? Did you hear
No, no, no.
why?
What did he say?
He knew. So that happened like 3 years ago or something like that. When he was with the Colts, 4 years ago maybe, something like that. When he was still with the Colts, it happened where the refs said that they could award points. So he knew that rule. I didn't know
Yeah.
that rule. So when they announced that, when the ref came on and announced that at the link, like everybody was like, "Really? Is that a rule?" And
Well,
they went nuts. So he
don't get me
knew that that was
wrong.
a rule.
Don't get
So
me wrong. I thought that it's a good plan if you're up like 7 or you're up like even 14, but they were up like 28, and he's like, you know what? Let's get him to jump offside
But
6 consecutive
Patty, they
times.
also took like 3 minutes off the clock. Every time they did it, they got a whole new play clock, and the clock just
Yeah.
kept ticking and ticking. I hate that about the NFL. If there's a penalty, the clock should stop. But that's
Yeah,
just
but the
my opinion.
opposite end of that, Tony, the opposite end of that is that if the clock stops on a penalty, why not at the end of the game put 12 guys on the field or jump off sides or something like that to take a timeout essentially
All
if the
right, well
clock
played,
stops in
Patty.
that
Good
scenario?
counterpoint. Good counterpoint.
That would be a slippery slope.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I
and then
mean,
hold on, and then the Bills game. I want to say that before you cut me off.
no, you good, go.
Unbelievable that they kept calling quarterback sneak 10 times in a row and got stopped every single time. I could not believe that. The defensive line from Kansas City, and we're going to talk about the playoff matchup, and the O line for the Eagles, that's going to be insane to watch. But to keep running that play, that's like playing Coach Cal and not running a zone defense against them the entire time, and like not making any sort of adjustments. Like, how do you not call a different play? And they had Josh Allen was killing it down every drive. They get to 31 because of Josh Allen and their running back Cook, and they just never gave the ball to Cook one time on 4th and 1. Crazy coaching
Yeah, I
decision.
mean, it's not even like I agree with you, Tony. I was crazy. I don't have a problem with them calling it all the time or putting the ball in Josh's hands. Like I want the ball in Josh's hands on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. But the announcers were like, traditionally they run this play to the left. And they
Yes.
didn't run it to and they didn't run it to the right at all. They ran it to the left every time. Like you don't have running quarterback sneak to the right at all in your playbook.
It's
Like,
well, he
bad
stood
Means
in
straight
it
up.
just
Buffalo.
means you do not trust the right side of your line.
yeah.
But
I
like what
mean,
they were saying, the Eagles do is they have their offensive linemen like come behind them and just push them through. But they like never did that either for
You've
the
been doing
Bills.
so
Like,
good this year, Tony.
sorry, I really wanted the Bills to win that game. Like, and I
oh,
could not believe they got stopped every time.
And we
no, I
really
mean,
wanted you not to cuss. But
I
things didn't happen, did it?
Listen, listen, I got a lot of things going on in my mind right now. All right.
you know, it is what it is. But no, I totally agree. I mean, I think that there's going to be, and we'll talk a little bit about it, coming in with the officiating. I don't know. I maybe I stand on the side of like I don't find this Chiefs team hateable. I'm sorry, maybe you do. I don't find them hateable. I grew up with the Patriots in my conference. There's nothing that the Chiefs can do that compares to a team that actually cheated multiple times. Like actually like there's people growing up right now that are like, "Oh, the Chiefs, I hate the Chiefs because they're good." Like the Patriots were good and they also cheated multiple times. So, as far as the officiating goes, I mean, there's obviously going to be some glaring calls. The Josh Allen spot where the two officials come in and
Oh
like
my lord, that was insane.
That was a first down.
That was insane.
I think so too, but the solution to that is something they talked about is putting like a chip in the ball, and it basically, there's a chip in the front of the ball, and there's a guy up in the booth, and every time he says, "Okay, we're starting on the 31," so he punches in 31, so the first down's a 41. So then when the ball is spotted, or like when the ball's run, let's say you're running with the ball and you go past that line, like they will have the technology to, like I don't know if any of you watch this. Is gonna sound weird on a football podcast, but if anyone here watches tennis at all, like they have like the line
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
uh, technology, like similar to that. Like they can track it because they have in the ball, like everything like that. So we'll see. And then obviously the other call, that people are talking about. Again, I don't think it's the right call, but it's one of those things where we talk about human umpires and human officials. They called that Xavier Worthy catch a catch on the field.
Yes.
And, I think it's one of those things that since it's called a catch on the field, there was really no way to overturn it. If they had called it an interception on the field, there would have been no way to overturn it into, a catch. But I think those are obviously going to be the 2 main points of contention in the offseason from that game, obviously.
I don't see how you could call it a catch, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude had one arm compared to two arms. Like, at least that's what I saw. I mean, that could
No, no,
be.
no. I definitely don't disagree. I think it is just one of those things like, hey, the official called
Called
it
it.
a
Yeah.
catch.
Yeah.
And now when you challenge, you don't have the indisputable evidence to overturn that into an interception. Like, not that that's a perfect world, because it's not, but that is kind of the language of, like, same thing on the other side of, like, the Josh Allen thing. Like, I think it was a first down, but the way they spotted it on the field was such a detriment to the challenge that they couldn't really do anything about it,
But
which
why did
sucks
that?
because
Why that umpire referee? Why was he the one? The other referee was 3 feet in the other direction. Who?
yeah, I mean, for sure. The thing is too though, like I'll just leave it at this. Obviously, officiating hasn't been great, and you can say that it's maybe a little bit preferential towards a team, but let's not act like Buffalo didn't have the ball last down what with a minute 40 and a whole field to just kick a field goal to go to overtime, and they can't get it done. Again, I'm not blaming, but like the opportunities were there to win. And
Yeah.
regardless of some of these calls that didn't go their way, the opportunity was still there to win. So I find it hard to lean on officiating as like the quote unquote reason that Kansas City keeps winning. Steve Spagnuolo's now, I know we have had this conversation before, but it's pretty crazy. I actually have been talking about this on a radio show that I call into. That I think Steve Spagnuolo has now entered like the top two defensive coordinators of all time, and him and Belichick, you could go either way. And then, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name, Kyle. What's the GM for yeah, and that Howie Roseman should really almost be considered like he's number one in the league right now, and he should start getting his name talked about in like the greatest of his the way he constructs rosters and trades for everything like that. So again, we talked about being spoiled. Like these two teams are in the Super Bowl for a reason. Like,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
no, but
That's fair. Yep. 100%.
so we are going to normally we'd move to our bust and trust segment here. We're going to save our picks for last. Our producer Steve is already laughing because he got a little bit of a preview of these questions. I'm going to kind of go around the room, Matlib style. I'm going to ask one person a question, and you can kind of laugh or chime in if you would like to, but it'll be kind of geared towards one person in a segment that we would like to call Is this a big deal, or is it something that Chris would just say that sounds dumb? Do-do-do-do.
So we have to decide if it's dumb or real.
So I'm going to give you a fact about the Super Bowl. You have to decide if this is a stat that would persuade you in a way or if it's just like not a big deal at all. It's either a big deal or like, wow, Chris just said that Daniel Jones belongs in the Hall of Fame. So, kind of somewhere in between that. Okay, we'll start with Mike. Are you ready, Mike?
I'm ready. I can't
I have
wait.
my handy dandy card. Since 2010, teams that wear white in the Super Bowl have won every Super Bowl but two. The Chiefs are wearing white on Sunday. Is this a big deal to you?
No, that sounds like some dumb stuff Chris would say. I know that I
I
know
saw
this
that stat.
because I read this.
Yeah,
I already read this stat this week. It is a significant percentage of teams that wear white. I do not think it was 2 out of the last 15, though.
I know it was 2 out of 15 because I looked at it.
Okay,
So
all right, you win.
I can tell you that the
Chris loses.
Falcons,
Chris
the
loses.
Falcons in red were leading and lost, and the Seahawks in navy blue were leading and lost to the Patriots in the Malcolm Butler Super
Oh,
Bowl.
I missed the question. They had to be leading and lost?
No, 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 no. Just the teams that won. Like I was just using those
Okay.
as
All right.
examples of
Okay.
like.
All right.
So since 2010, I'm saying too, Mike. Not all time. They're like
Yeah, I
37
know.
and 21 all time or something like that.
Okay.
do they just get to pick, or the better team get? Is that because they're like considered the home team, or
The home
because
team technically wears the dark color, and the away team usually wears the white.
okay,
So on to you, Mr. Tony P.
all right, I'm
Okay,
ready.
Tony P. Question two of: is this a big deal, or is it just some dumb stuff that Chris would say?
I mean, I need some good tips. So Chris, hit me up with some
Okay.
knowledge. Let's go.
No team has ever won the Super Bowl after losing to Kirk Cousins in the regular season. The Eagles lost to Kirk Cousins week 2 of this year. Is that a big deal to you, or is it some dumb stuff?
I mean, a lot of teams lose to Kirk Cousins, so Or a lot of teams beat Kirk Cousins. Wait, I'm confused. The Eagles lost or they won?
They lost week 2 to Kirk Cousins.
I mean, that's a bad sign. That is a pretty bad sign. So I'm gonna say that's dumb, pretty dumb. Just maybe it'd be different if it was week 17 or 16, but the Eagles are on a roll. I think at the beginning of the year they were a little bit of a different team than they are now. So I'm gonna say that's stupid, and that is not gonna go into any of my decision making this weekend for sure.
All right, that's a fair deal. We're saying that Kirk Cousins is dumb and that Tony P does not believe in curses. On to question number
Not that
3.
curse, not that curse. But I
On to
definitely believe
question
in
number
curses.
3. Cody.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Cody,
Yo.
this Sunday, Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs will get the opportunity to call the coin toss. Andy Reid is 3-0 when winning the coin toss. Is this a big deal to you? Yes or no?
I feel
and
like
what are
that's
you
true.
picking, heads or tails?
I feel like that's true. And tails never fails. You know what I mean?
That's the right answer.
Great answer.
I disagree. However, we have our first big deal because that's why we put Cody in these segments to agree with me instead of agreeing with Tony. So there we go.
He said tails. I agree with that. I've
No, no, no.
always
He
picked
said
tails.
big deal, though. He said it was a big deal, which I said I agree with. Okay, here we go, Kyle. I saved this one for you. One of the two teams to win since 2010 in non-white jerseys would be the 2018, 18, right?
Yeah.
Philadelphia Eagles in green.
Yep.
Is this a big deal that they are now wearing green again? I will put a side note. They did lose in green in 2005 or
Those
4,
were
whatever they
Reebok
did.
jerseys, though. Now they're
Yes,
wearing Nike
correct. So
jerseys.
is
So
this a big deal to you, or is this some dumb stuff that Chris would say?
he would say it's dumb stuff. I think it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. They played much better in the green, and I fully embrace them wearing this green.
Now, this is a side question. Are they going to wear the old green helmet, or are they going to wear the Kelly green new helmet, you think?
No, they can't wear alternate in the Super Bowl at all.
All
So
right.
they have to wear the midnight green.
And
I love those. That's one of my favorite helmets in the NFL.
And a side note, Daniel Jones will be at the Super Bowl, so
I
technically
did see
Daniel
that.
Jones made a Super Bowl before Dak Prescott. Just wanted to throw that out.
yeah,
Side note for all
No,
you
Why would
Cowboy
you even give
fans.
that to Chris for next week?
Love that.
he already has it. Come on, you know he already has it.
Okay, and then this last one I'm going to kind of ask in general because there's only four of us. I thought there was going to be a fifth. The last, is it a big deal or is it a dumb thing that Chris would say, is since 2020, and this includes their Super Bowl loss, since 2020, the Chiefs have never led at halftime of any Super Bowl.
ooh,
If the Eagles score first, is this a big deal?
With that defense, completely different defense than they had 2 years ago. So definitely a big deal.
Agree.
Tony, Mike, what do you think?
I do. I mean, Patrick Mahomes in the second half is straight up unstoppable. So every when they were against the Niners were killing them in the first half, and Patrick Mahomes in the second half was lights out. I'm done going against Patrick Mahomes. They're gonna win this game. They're going in the second. I would not second half Kansas City all the way for sure.
All
Tony
right,
sounds like a
Mike, what are
man
your
that's been
thoughts?
burned.
Killing me, Tony.
For
I
Killing me.
don't know.
about 10 weeks now.
I was agreeing with Kyle a little bit at first, but I think Tony might have convinced me it might be more important to score last than first.
Yeah, I think it's
I mean, it
definitely an
kind of is.
interesting thing. When I was looking at the box scores this morning, and I was like, they surely had to have led in the first half of one of these games. And they were down versus San Fran. I believe they were tied versus Philly, and obviously down
No,
versus
they were down against Philly too. They were down
down against Philly. And
2.
then they were
Yep,
tied against San Fran the second time, or
yep,
one of them, yeah.
yep.
But yeah, I mean, those are some interesting facts. And if you're listening, you can tweet us at Clashing Conferences Pod if you agree if they're a big deal or if you think they're just some dumb stuff that Chris would say, and we'll respond to you on Twitter with the insert verbal meme of the backwards hat Chris thing. That's some just blip, 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 again. So
Can I ask
insert
Kyle a
that right
question
there.
real quick? Because you brought it up, and I really want to ask like an Eagles
Sure.
fan this question. So you brought up the 2 years ago, completely different Eagles defense. Does that Super Bowl like factor into any of your thinking about this game? Because I'm thinking about that game and how much of a shootout it was, and it was just back and forth. Do you think this game is going to be like that? Totally different? Does that factor in at all? Or
It not for me. It doesn't factor in. The defense has 6 different people on it than 2 years ago, and the secondary is much better all across the board. So I really think the Chiefs team from 2 years ago is better than the Chiefs team this year with their weapons. Honestly, so I honestly think the defense has the advantage there. Plus, they're not playing on a sloppy field either team. So I'd like to see what they do on this field together, like both teams.
That's definitely a great point. Before we get into our Super Bowl preview, we'd like to load graphic. And our internal competition for our playoff pick'em. Here is our standings. Our proud leader and producer, Steve, in first place with
Very
18
proud. Very
points.
proud.
18 points. He was the only team or the only person in our competition to have both the Chiefs and Eagles bonus points. So he got 5 bonus points for each to make the Super Bowl, and he has the Chiefs as his Super Bowl champion. We have Matt at 13, but he has the Lions as his champion, so he probably can't catch up in points. However, the interesting part is we have Lewis also at 13, who has the Eagles as his Super Bowl champion. And for those who might have forgot, a correct Super Bowl champion at the beginning of the pod was 10 bonus points. So if the Eagles win, Lewis wins, the city of Philadelphia wins, Abbott Elementary wins across the board. And then we also have Mike and Trey with 11 rounding out our top 5 on the scoreboard. So, gentlemen, that brings us to our Super Bowl preview. How we're going to do this is going to be our pick'em segment. We're going to go around. I'll call on you. You're going to give me your pick. You're going to give me a matchup to look out for. It could be something small. It could be something big. What player you're keeping an eye on. And then you are going to make your official pick for this Super Bowl this upcoming Sunday. We will start with the man of the hour, Cody Gentry. Start us off, bud. Who you thinking? Who you taking? What are you looking out for?
I am going with the Eagles because I can't stand the Chiefs. And really, what I'm looking for is I already got a bet in, so it's Mahomes, Hunt, and Barkley to score. Hunt to have 70 plus yards, and Barkley to have 100 and something yards. It's a $5 bet turns into 500. So that's really what I'm looking forward to. Honestly, that's the things that I'm looking forward to the most. I'm not really excited about the halftime show. I feel like they should have had Lil Wayne instead of Kendrick Lamar. You're in New Orleans, but that's why I'm not the head of the NFL, I guess.
You hear to hear first. Cody's got Kareem Hunt running for 70 yards on the best rushing defense in the NFL. Here we go, Mike. We're going over to you.
I am sticking with Cody, and I'm sure Kyle, I got the Eagles in this one. I think it's I'm going to go with 27-23. I think is the score I gave out on the football podcast. And my player to watch, my stat or my lock of the week on my bet, despite the Eagles winning, I think Saquon is going to go under the 112.5 rushing yards. Chiefs D is good.
They are. They are. I think that's his line is super interesting to me. Tony
It's
P,
so
who's your
high.
pick? What's your matchup? What are you looking for?
You said me, Tony P?
That would be Tony P.
Okay.
That's you.
I'm going Kansas City. I've faded them about 10 weeks in a row now, and I've lost every time. This team does not lose. They're gonna win this game, unfortunately. And I I I think locks for the week. Well, I want to do a score because you said score can win me this competition. I'm going shootout again, 38-35 Kansas City. And I'm doing tails, and I'm doing under on the national anthem, and I'm doing purple Gatorade. Boom. Lock me in
Okay.
those.
You heard it here first. Kyle, I don't think we're going to get any surprises from you, but tell us what you're looking forward to here.
So obviously, I'm picking the Eagles to win. I think it's going to come down to two key matchups: how the Eagles defense matches up against Travis Kelce, and honestly, how the Chiefs defense matches up against Dallas Goedert across the middle. I think Dallas Goedert can have a huge game and play
I
a
do
role
too.
in this game. I think he can be that 3rd and 5, be that safety blanket right over the middle and get those first downs. So I got the Eagles winning 31-23.
Nice. All right. And then I'll round us off. Tinfoil hat on really quick, and then I'll take it off. Obviously, the Chiefs are going to win their 3rd in a row because Travis Kelsey's going to get engaged to Taylor Swift on live television because that's what the NFL wants. Okay. Tin hat off. All right. Just kidding for all this. So,
Tony's ready to take the bet. Tony's like, yeah, I'll bet on that.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
you
at
so
all you guys' scores, and every one of you guys picked the over on this score. So I'm just
I,
saying. Just
I will
saying.
side. I will side slightly with Kansas City. I'm going to pick Kansas City. I could definitely see the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. Here's what it comes down to me. I am just going to rely on the fact that I think that Andy Reid is a better play caller than Kellen Moore, and I think that Steve Spagnuolo is a slightly better play caller, going against Kellen Moore. And to me, I think the matchup to look out for is how healthy is Quinyon Mitchell going into this game, and how can he stack up? I know he's good. I really like him and Cooper DeJean. They're two of my favorite guys to watch, especially with Slay on the back end. Having DeJean be able to play nickel is a blessing for the Eagles and everything like that. So I'm excited to see how Xavier Worthy matches up. I think he's the guy for Kansas City. But I feel like with these Super Bowls, especially in the last couple, like last year, the big thing with the Chiefs, like Kyle kind of talked about earlier, their weapons were better 2 years ago against the Eagles than they are now. And their weapons were better 2 years ago than they were last year against the Niners. But Kadarius Toney scores twice last year. I just feel like they scheme these guys, and we're going to get some random touchdown by like Juju or DeAndre Hopkins or one of these guys that's still talented, but on the back half of their career, because that's what Andy Reid does.
It,
And there's no one I trust in the big game to scheme up an offensive play late in the game more than Andy Reid. So I'll take the Chiefs slightly 31-28.
over. Patty, is Andy Reid, is he the one making the he makes the play calls for Kansas City.
Technically, Matt Nagy is their offensive coordinator,
Yeah.
but everything's going through Reed's headset.
It's Andy Reid.
Everything's going through Reed's
If he
headset.
can draw up the plays Kansas City does, I didn't know that was Andy Reid doing that. He really is.
Oh yeah, like Andy Reid's probably a top 5 offensive play caller of all time at this point.
Wow.
Like he is a genius as far as offensive play calling, and
Yeah.
I think that's something.
By far, he's the best halftime adjustment guy I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I
He's
think
just a
what
hell
Kyle
of a
talked
coach.
about. Oh my bad, Mike. Go.
Nah, that's all I was because he's just a hell of a coach all
Yeah.
around.
No, and I think what Kyle talked about, I think is interesting is I do think that Kelsey and Goddard are two very like interesting matchups to see what they do. And the thing that Spagnola does best is draw these simulated pressures. Like I don't know if you guys heard the post game presser after Chiefs Bills, and basically they said on that last play where Allen threw it up and Kincaid drops it that all game they showed this pressure and they didn't send it. They showed it, they didn't send it. They multiple third downs they showed it. And then finally, what Spagnola does best is he shows it and he goes it when it's like that crucial crunch time. And that's just something that, like, as a football coach, as a football guy, wow, that's like something so fun to see. But I think we're going to have a great Super Bowl on our hands. You heard all of our picks here first. I'm going to be the guy to say it. It's heads on the coin toss, fellas. It is heads
Oh my God.
all the way.
Don't even bring that into the earth right now.
We're bringing it in the
need
universe.
as karma right now.
We are the Clash and Conferences podcast. We are a sports fan network of the people, by the people, for the people. Mic drop. Super Bowl Sunday. We'll see you there. As Kendrick Lamar said, they not like us, baby. Have a good night.
Go Birds.
I'm literally going to give you the play-by-play on how you would participate in this podcast in less than 15 seconds. Here we go. You download an app. Our content producer, content manager sends you a link. You hit the link. You record, and usually within 30 seconds, unless you have COVID internet, you're done. That's it. You do nothing else. Steve does all the work. He stays up late at night. He does the editing. App, click it, hang up. The end. So, again, I understand people don't want to take on any more work than they need to. You're not. So just keep that in mind.
There is no work. This is fun time.
Yes.
Sometimes a little bit of extra
Fun
work,
time.
maybe if you want to be the host. But if
Big
you just
facts.
want to be a team rep, come in here and talk about your team as easily as you talk about it with any one of your friends or rivals.